Hello everybody, my name is Bede. I'm a student of Vedanta and I live in Australia, and I'm a student of Swami Atmaprakashananda, and I'm talking to a fellow Australian student. Say hello, Kevin.
Hello everybody.
Okay, now Kevin, what I wanted to talk about, because we're continuing our series on Vedantic practice, I want to basically talk about the importance of understanding the difference between ourselves as a personality, and what Swami Dayananda means by that, and ourselves as a simple conscious being. So that's going to be the subject matter.
Sounds interesting, Bede. Looking forward to it.
Okay. Now, first of all, let's just see what he says about personality. What he says is that personality... no, before I go there, I want to just ask you something. If I say to you, Kevin, what's your name? What instantly happens in your mind?
Kevin.
Right. So what happens is automatically, in response to what I've said, automatically an automatic thought comes up into your mind called Kevin. Does that make sense? And this is an extremely useful function, isn't it, in terms of living?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay? So the same way, when I learn how to cook, or I learn how to do accounting, or I'm doing psychotherapy, or whatever it is that I happen to be doing, what happens is that we accumulate experience, and that we go through a learning process where we're learning a skill, which is like wobbling and it's great difficulty, and then like riding a bike, and then we finally have the skill, and then what happens is we get on the bike and this skill comes automatically into operation so I can perform the riding of the bike. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. When Narmada, my wife, is cooking, she doesn't stop there every time and has to learn how to cook again.
No, she's learning from each experience.
Sorry?
She's learning from each experience.
Yes, but let's say that now she's done it so often, what happens is, what I'm saying is there's an automatic operation in terms of function.
Yeah, yeah.
So skills are built into us and they operate automatically. Like when I'm talking to you now, I'm not trying to learn the language.
No. Yep.
And it's extremely useful to have this automatic functioning, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so even the way we look at life in terms of our cognitive skills, like being able to see what's happening and what we need to be doing, some people are highly skilled in that area in the sense that they're accurate. Do you know what I mean? Some people,
yeah.
and then we've got interpersonal skills. Do you know what I mean? Like some better than others, but it's kind of automatic, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and also we've got material skills, like when we do our occupation, what we're working at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So it's a gift really. We don't decide to, did you decide to think the word Kevin when I asked you what your name was, or did it just sort of happen?
I think it just happened. That's
right. It's built into you, and it happens automatically.
Mm.
Now, this is all of these skills, cognitive skills, interpersonal skills, and material skills, they're incredibly useful and valuable in terms of living, aren't they?
Mm.
Okay.
What do you mean by material skills?
Just your occupational skills. Like you know how to wash your face, you know how to clean your teeth. Do you remember how you taught your child how to clean their teeth?
Yeah.
Now they don't actually. Now they have to go through this process of going like this and like this. And he said, no, do it this way. And eventually they just do it themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so now they have a material skill.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So our whole living depends upon these skills. The very fact that we can have these skills and that they can become automatically in operations frees our attention. You see what I mean? Because otherwise we'd have to be constantly learning all the time at every new event.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so these functions or these performances of action like this, it's extremely useful, isn't it, in terms of our living?
Mm.
Now,
yeah.
But now what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about personality. Now, personality is automatic too, but it's automatically reactive. Automatic, emotionally reactive. And how Swami Dayananda puts it is he says, is that you've got these whole lot of built-in, the personality is the built-in reactions. It consists of built-in reactions. So you know how we've got built-in skills?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this has built-in reactions. Okay?
And what do you mean by reactions then?
Okay. You notice how the past, you know, like if you had never learnt your name, Kevin, if you didn't have the past, it was built into you, would you be able to, when I said, what's your name, you wouldn't be able to know, would you?
No.
Namana, when she approached the kitchen, she knows the oven, she knows she knows all of these things.
Yeah.
So based on past experience, the past is operating in the present, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In the form of skills.
Yep.
Right? Now, when we're talking about the personality, we have not only have we've learnt about things in life, haven't we? We've been told, we've got a taught concept of life, haven't we? What it should be like, what people are like, what the world should be like. But we've also had experiences, haven't we, of being hurt and being angry and being disappointed and let down by others. We've had experiences of hurting other people, haven't we?
Yep, and being happy and all that sort of thing.
Yep. Now, what happens is that by the time we're 6, the basic core personality has been built. It's actually set in concrete. It's like as though set in concrete. It's been built, and it consists of all of these built-in reactions of anger, disappointment, boredom, irritation, whatever it is, and it's all built in. Okay, now I want you to imagine that I've got my hands here and I'm scratching a blackboard, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Can you feel that?
Has some effect. Yeah.
It's unpleasant, isn't it? Now, I'm not scratching a blackboard, but the experience of that unpleasant sensation suddenly comes alive in you, doesn't it?
Yes.
Isn't that amazing that it's not that you're having a memory like remembering your name. There's a whole psychophysical, you know, like feelings, the sensations. You feel that scratching sensation when someone's scratching a blackboard. You remember the kid at school that didn't mind and would do it deliberately?
I think it was you, Bede.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. I hate it. So what happens is that this psychological content, the experiences that we've had, particularly that were formed in us, the experiences that are formed in us from the ear dot, even before birth probably, you know what I mean, in the womb, everything, right up to when you're 6, it's all formed in us. And what it can do is that it can become active today. It becomes active as a reaction. Okay? As an emotional reaction. Have you sometimes just found yourself being angry?
Well, only in response to an event.
Yes, but have you ever, you know what it is? And so what happens is it's not actually a response to an event, it's actually a reaction to an event. So what happens is the event happens and you suddenly find yourself being angry or being bored or feeling small or feeling inferior or you might be feeling superior. But what happens is that these, the personality becomes active in you today as an attitude. It's not an automatic, it's an automatic, emotionally reactive attitude. So when I'm angry, right, I'm actually in an attitude. I am being the personality in the form of anger. I'm literally becoming the personality. I even say, I am angry. All right?
But you're saying that I am angry is a reaction to an event?
Its substance is a reaction, yes. It is not, you can't call this living, you can't call this being alive to anything. This is just simply a blind reaction. But it's an interesting thing because here I am. When I'm angry, that attitude of anger pervades all of me. You see, because when I'm angry, my face is like this. My jaw is clenched. My fist might be like that. My breathing might be slightly constricted. My tone of voice is involved in it. Do you know what I mean? My physical posture, how I'm standing.
The way you're talking is that when I react to an event, I don't have any control over.
Absolutely not.
Over that reaction, it just happens.
It just happens. Yes.
It didn't get approval from my intellect or whatever the cognitive function is, which says this is an appropriate action, or it just happens.
Yeah, it's without reference to what is actually necessarily happening. It's just simply for some reason that it is revivified. You are reliving past events. That's true. I mean, just like remembering the name, right? That's an emotional event. It's completely reactive. And you literally start dramatizing it because you can't help be what you are. So if you are being this personality, if you are being angry, you will talk in a loud voice. You will actually, the individual experiences anger totally. When I asked Swami Dayananda, like, what do you mean by attitude? Because I had the idea that attitude was something that we do or have, you see.
Yeah.
But what he told me was that the attitude is something that you are at any one moment. So when I'm being angry, I have become the personality in the form of anger. And I take it that I'm angry. I can't stand the way that this person has acted. And then I live it out. I'm dramatizing it, aren't I? Right? Now, but that's the example of anger. What about a more mild thing? Have you ever been you're sitting around and you just feel bored? That's a reaction.
Yeah.
That's a reaction. So what happens is the situation is, and suddenly I find myself being bored. Or go.
So in that sense, when I've got an attitude, it's a way of seeing everything. All my thoughts conform to that way of seeing.
Yeah, it's not that you have an attitude. When you're being the attitude, all your thought, because it is a way of seeing, it's like, life is so boring at the moment, or that idiot has hurt me. That is a way of seeing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
You're seeing an idiot who's hurt you. You see what I mean? Or this is a very boring situation. You're actually seeing the world in a certain way, and
so in that situation, I don't think I have an idea that this person is an idiot or boring.
Yep.
I'm experiencing an idiot or a boring person. And it's
Yeah. Your way of seeing has turned into an experience that you seem to be facing. Yes. Do you mean? So you're experiencing a person who is an idiot. You're experiencing a situation which is boring because there's this unconscious operation of subjectivity, which we've talked about. So what happens is that we're enclosed in a way of seeing that we take to be true. The situation is boring. He is a horrible, nasty, or she is a horrible, nasty person. And so and then what happens is the next moment we're in another attitude. We're annoyed or irritated, or we might be sad. Or we might be in a fearful attitude. We might be in a critical attitude. We might be in a judgmental attitude.
Might be in a guilty attitude if we acted in response to reacting, or after. It's a reaction after reaction, but after being angered by someone, I may do an action which I then feel, which was a hurtful action, whether verbally and then I may regret or feel guilty about that action.
Then what happens is you become. That's what right. That's in psychotherapy. That's what we talk. Secondary thing. What happens is we get angry about our anger, sad about our sadness, and fearful about our fear. which is still another attitude.
Yes.
So what's happening is, in response to life, this operation of the past, not the present moment, comes alive in us as though it's present. Does that make sense? So past ways of seeing come active in us. And it's unfortunate, because when I'm looking at my life, when I'm actually being the reaction, I'm not alive to what is happening right now. I'm actually caught in and enclosed in myself. I am full of me. I'm what Swami Dayananda calls living in my own world.
And I can see, I just thought what would happen after I felt guilty about hurting someone because they made me angry. Then the next reaction would be that I blame them and say, well, they are
blaming attitude.
They are this way.
Yeah, you have a blaming attitude. Do you know what I mean? Or a remorseful attitude. Do you know what I mean? Or you see, so what happens is that in response to life, in response to my own thoughts, imagine if I had, some people find it difficult if they have so-called unmentionable thoughts or feelings that they wouldn't want other people to know about. They feel tremendously guilty because those thoughts have arisen in them. Then they become self-hating. So they have a self-hating attitude. You know what I mean? Or when people do something we don't like, we have a critical attitude. Or we might have an arrogant attitude. Oh, how can they be so stupid? Because we learned that when we get arrogant and feel superior, we don't feel small and inferior. So some people have an automatic, a reactive attitude of arrogance. But
so all these reactions, the basis why they're really arising to, so I feel better about myself.
Yeah, they are. Well, it's more complicated than that. Is that once the personality is formed, we have a compulsion to maintain it and preserve it. This was the
Because it's our self-identity.
It's our very life. We think that this identity is us. You see, when I was studying psychology when I was in a Catholic seminary when I was about 20 years old, and we were studying Freud and what he said about what they call a repetition compulsion, he couldn't understand why is it that a person who has an abusive father who's an alcoholic, why do they then sometimes get attracted to, when they grow up, to an abusive man who's an alcoholic, get married, then break up and then marry another person who's exactly the same. So they go through this compulsion to keep on living out the identity by making sure that the events sort of somehow are similar to the past. Freud made a mistake in the sense that he thought that this obviously can't be the pleasure principle, therefore it must be, he postulated what they call the death instinct. Does that make sense? Now, the death instinct, that people have a destructive instinct, a death instinct. But Swami Dayananda said, no, living is always the purpose of living is to live. The purpose of life is to live. So the thing is that once the identity is formed when you're about 6, it feels secure, you see. You feel secure as an existing person. And then what happens is that then there's this, what they call the craving to become, to be. It's interesting that the word existence means it means out. To stand out. Have you ever seen these children at school? Sometimes what happens is that they will be deliberately naughty in order to get attention, to be related to people, because what's more important is the self-preservation.
And in that they're reconfirming, they're getting reactions to their behaviour, which confirms their view of themselves.
Preserving their existence. How important do you think it is
that I'm a funny person or whatever?
Well, how important do you think self-preservation is?
I think it would be paramount.
It's absolutely. In fact, my Swami says that the fear of death is the most strongest urge, the strongest urge. That's why, for example, when we're by ourselves and we're not doing anything, we get a bit nervous, a bit empty. It's uncomfortable. But when we're dramatizing, even our anger and all of these various emotions, in one sense, it's actually self-preservation in a strange way. You see, in Vedanta, the motivation for our actions are either pleasure or security. So this isn't pleasure we're going for, and it's all unconscious. It's not. It's like a hologram. You know how? Imagine if you feel that this is me. I'm this hologram, right? You have to energize it, don't you? To keep it going. So here you are. You're driving down the road. And, oh, look at that idiot driving that way. Here I am, existing. I'm being. But I think it's the idiot. But in actual fact, this personality is constantly reacting. And what it does, it keeps itself, we keep ourselves alive as this personality through dramatization. You see, so for example, if I'm sitting by myself and I'm feeling lonely and sad and I go through my mind, I might be dramatizing quietly.
Dramatizing what, sorry?
I'm dramatizing myself quietly. I'm fantasizing about how life sucks or whatever. So do you mean like some people even like they imagine people dying and what they'd be like at the funeral and all sorts of things, you know what I mean? Like, see, so the thing is that there's this constant reaction going on, that preserves the sense of identity. I am angry because you see, this is a content, isn't it? And so by virtue of the fact that it's a content and it's a limited content, this psychological content, it keeps on repeating. Have you ever noticed that people go through the same repeating scenarios, the same types of upsets, the same types of emotional pain, the same types of interpersonal reactions? And everybody's got a different set. Everyone, if you talk to people, some people have this set, the other people have this set. But it's like we're enclosed. We're kind of enclosed in this way of being. We're literally becoming the personality, and it's as though we are this personality.
So with this, all these reactions, it's no benefit to the situation. It's all about how I'm reacting to events around me, but it's not in a beneficial. It's not usually in a beneficial way to the situation, to the event, is it?
No, it's not. It's not.
It's all about me. It's all about me, isn't it?
Yes, but it's not in the accusative sense. It's not. No, we're not to blame for it. Swami Dayananda says it's like a wall building itself. It just goes on. And you're right. It's not based on what is happening. It's actually based on what has happened. Actually,
how I'm feeling, how I feel about that, and in the form of my reactions or my sense of myself.
Yeah, well, it's implicit in it. Every time I have a reaction, there is an I sense. So every attitude is an I sense. I am angry. I am confused. You see what I mean?
We don't think it's a thought. We don't.
No.
We don't appreciate these attitudes are notional. This is what we're experiencing.
Yes.
I'm angry. I'm bored.
I am literally taking myself to be this personality. When I'm angry, I'm taking myself to be the anger. I even say, I am angry. So, this is the beauty of Vedanta. It says that the problem is centered on me. The problem is centered on me, not my mind. I am being the suffering, and the whole thing is suffering. Actually, it's the whole thing. Because I'm not alive to anything. I'm not alive to anything as such. I'm caught in my own world entirely, and Swami Dayananda says a very interesting thing. In this condition, he says, not even God can help you.
No.
And I was extremely interested when I first come across Vedanta, I was familiar with the repetition compulsion thing. And I spent all my life trying to work out, and I studied hard, and I did various forms of training and various forms of psychotherapy to try and resolve this problem. How do you resolve this problem? And I thought it was impossible, actually. I thought it was impossible. Because, you see, the problem is we think that, okay, that if we can modify the personality, if we can change the personality. But
that seems to be implied from what I understand about psychology or behavioural therapy.
Yeah. But try and behave better, yeah. But the problem is, the core problem, which is this problem centered on the self, never gets addressed. Never gets addressed because, you see, what happens is when Swami Dayananda says that it's a problem centered on the self, a self-confusion. Now, in Latin, confuse means con, together, fuse, poured together. So what happens is we, as an individual, get poured together with anger, with confusion, with irritation, with boredom, with arrogance, with malice, with jealousy, with envy, with rivalry, with empty, you know what I mean? We just get poured together. We get poured together with our delusions. You know what I mean? Like once this sociology teacher, he asked these students, okay, what party do you belong to? Right, American students, and why do you belong to it? So they wrote, yeah, I'm a Republican, and yes, I believe in it because of this, and yes, and they gave fantastic reasons for the reason that they're a Democrat or a Republican. He got it all in, and he said, and they go, the same student says, what family were you brought up in, and what party did they belong to? 95% of them, their parents they got that from their parents. But they are firmly convinced that the ideas and the attitude that they have were their own. But what happens is that we do have a taught concept of life, and often it's uninspected, and we just live it out. You know, if we're racially prejudiced, we go, oh yeah, we don't like that person because of their race. We don't think about it. We just see them. We have a way of seeing which sees them in a derogatory light because of race. You see what I mean? Depending on where we're born. So what happens is that there is this content that is constantly coming active as ways of seeing the world, the ways of seeing other people, the ways of seeing ourselves, and then there's this felt concept of life, isn't there? Of what I'm like as a person. I've got the sense of what I am like as a person. And we're so familiar with it, we take ourselves to be this. And then we go, and this is what other people are like in relation to me. And that's also fixed. And then we've got this, well, what is life like? Well, the world like? Well, it's like this. And it remains the same, essentially. So we don't learn from any new experience because every new experience is put in the same box.
Reacting to the same.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that, you know, we all play roles, and Swami Dayananda talks about roles, like in your case.
I don't want to go into that right now. I want to just concentrate first. We'll deal with that. We'll do that. All I want to concentrate right now is the fact that of what he means by personality. That what happens is that we are constantly being this personality, which is a mindless, automatic, emotionally reactive way of being in this world. It just based on our psychological past. Yes, and it's constantly coming into operation, but it is never, normally it's not recognized as this. We don't recognize it. And the other important fact is it's changeable, isn't it? One moment I'm this, the next moment I'm that, and then the next moment I'm this. So the I sense, which is the attitude, the prevailing attitude, is constantly shifting, isn't it?
Yes, into mutually exclusive realms or
yes,
of experience.
Yes, and we're enclosed in this. You see, this is not. We can't say that this is freedom. That's why Freud believed he was what they call a determinist. He believed that people were completely determined by this. And we have a different view of that in Vedanta, but he was right about the fact that when we are being this personality, this reactive entity, when we're being reactive, we are being totally determined by our past background. But we have this illusion of autonomy.
Some people would think that they are the personality. That's what makes life interesting.
Yeah, but the thing is that people have a lot of views of themselves. That's the point. But what happens is that irrespective is that there is this, and when there's reactivity, you see, when I'm angry, it's an instruction to act, isn't it? I can't help but act it out. So, and the thing is that nothing changes, and we can try and chop and change. In Western psychology, what they do is they try and change the thinking, or they try and change the feelings, or they try and change the physiological reactions, or they try by relaxation and stuff like that, or they try and change the behavior. It's like they're cutting off the branches. But what Swami Dayananda says is that right there in this attitude, right here, where I am, right here, right now as I am, a shift has to occur in me. Now, the most important thing is, well, where does that shift, what is that shift, and what is the nature of that shift? And that's what I want to talk about now.
Oh, good. So we don't, there is a choice, unlike Freud, there is a choice. We don't have to be...
Maybe not a choice, but there's an alternative.
Yes.
Okay, now, you see, it was very interesting when you notice that when you're caught up in reactivity, in the personality, you're striving, aren't you? You're constantly striving, trying.
Yeah.
You're constantly battling with the world because the world is impacting on you all the time. It's making you angry. It's people or the world is making you angry. They're making you upset. They're making you happy. They're making you unhappy. They're causing how you are all the time. Would that be true?
It appears that way, and I'm always seeking to be or wanting to be happy.
Yeah, wanting to be a better self. You know what I mean? Like wanting to feel good about myself. Do you know what I mean? Because what happens is also too we've learned that when we get experiences of praise and approval, it feels delicious. It feels fantastic. So we go for that. When we feel superior to other people, we go for that because that's good. We're more elevated above all the other people. That's fantastic. Then we go for that. We go for anything. We may find that when we've certain types of entertainment or whatever, you know what I mean? We start to feel good, so we all go for that. So there's this constant movement towards anything that will actually make us feel good. That's a reaction too, because what happens is you're feeling bored. There's a reaction in your mind. Oh, I'll go and I'll watch television. And then I watch television because in the past when I've watched television, I feel better. So there's this constant mindless movement of becoming.
And when there's people you feel you have a rapport with, or you're friends with, or it's your spouse, where you and you feel they are those things because they're not triggering negative or unhappy reactions in you.
Yeah, if we like the people who don't trigger unhappy reactions in us, and we hate the people who do. Even if we think, okay, I shouldn't hate them, I'll try and be nice and sweet, right? The fact is that's the way it works. Okay, because this whole thing is driven by conscious and unconscious desires, and particularly the desire to be. You know what I mean? To have a sense of identity. Now, what I want to go into now is that on one side, so you can see how we're constantly becoming this personality. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's the alternative? Now,
yes, I want to know the alternative.
Now, the alternative is I'll explain what I mean. Is the alternative is being a conscious person. Being a conscious person. And a conscious person is a person who is alive to facts. Alive to facts. Right? Now, what I want you to do, just for the next 15 seconds, Kevin, I want you just to pause, and I want you simply to just listen to the sounds that are here. Okay? For 15 seconds, okay? Go. And people who are listening to this, they can do it too, just for 15 seconds. Okay. Now, what did you notice when you did that, Kevin?
I think I just appreciate myself as a conscious being.
But did you hear the sounds?
Yes.
Okay, so because you were aware of the sounds, because you were appreciating what was here, in that appreciation you found yourself being conscious, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you see what I mean? Now, it's interesting, isn't it, that you shifted from striving to the appreciation of what is in the form of sounds. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the appreciation of what is what Swami Dayananda means by knowledge. Okay? It's got nothing to do with information. It's actually simply you're awake and alive to what is. In this case, the sounds. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, notice that in the very appreciation of what is happening in the form of sounds, right? Okay, what happens to all of the reactivity?
It disappears.
Isn't that interesting?
And the thoughts, if there had been idle thoughts, the mind sort of, entertaining various thoughts irrelevant or relevant about what's happening, they just disappear.
There's actually a shift, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because you're abiding in the knowledge of sounds.
Being alive to what is.
That's what knowledge means. What Swami Dayananda would talk about would be being alive to facts, being aware. Does that make sense? This is what knowledge means. Now, some people have this strange notion that knowledge is something kind of, I don't know, some theoretical thing. Did you notice that when you were listening like that, did you notice that in terms of what you were being, because you had a listening attitude, because you were there, a receiving attitude, right? Did you notice that without any effort, you changed? You changed.
Yeah.
Because when we become alive to facts, we are lifted out of the subjectivity.
I also notice where I hear your voice, your words, and I understand them. There's no effort trying to understand them.
No. So what happens is that what I want to point out is that on one hand, we have ourselves as a reactive personality, which we're living out. Now, when we are caught up in and involved in that automatic reacting, feeling good about myself, feeling bad about myself, dramatization, are we actually alive to what is?
No, I think we're reacting then.
We're enclosed. We're actually cut off from the world.
Those reactions aren't referring to any conscious cognitive function in me. They just happen.
They happen, and I'm taking my experience to be what is.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm being ignorant, and I don't know that I'm being ignorant. Whereas when I'm actually, when I shift from becoming to the appreciation of what is, right here, right now, as I am, this is the place where freedom is.
Yes, that's certainly my experience.
Yes. So
right now, always available.
Yes.
Where the ordinary becomes extraordinary.
Right. So, and we'll go into that in a minute. Now, the thing is that, you see, myself as a conscious person. Now, this is a very interesting point. I found this really I found this so inspiring, really. You see, you notice that our being aware, the awareness is intact, isn't it? The awareness that we're being, when we're being conscious, it's intact, isn't it? It's not being damaged in any way psychologically, is it?
No.
No. And in fact, you see, because this awareness that we are being, this conscious person that we are being, right, is not a product of any past events, is it?
No.
Now, isn't that interesting? This is what Freud never saw. The conscious person. So the conscious person is completely intact. We don't have to produce it. We don't have to create it. But there's a problem here. We're only being a conscious person when we're being it. We can only appreciate ourselves as a conscious person when we're being conscious.
Some people might, when I'm just reflecting on what we're talking about, what it means to be a conscious, accepting, receiving person alive to facts, it typically is more available for people when they're with a beautiful sunset or a beautiful landscape or
we're going to go into that when we talk about practice, but I just want to, at the moment, I'm just saying that because when I'm being myself as a conscious person, because there's actually a way to approach this which I haven't gone into, which we're going to go into, right? But because I'm being myself as a conscious person, right? I am being free in the sense that when I am being myself, relaxed and content in myself, right? I'm not being any of these reactions, am I?
No.
So I haven't fixed up this compulsion to be a reactive personality, have I? I haven't fixed it. I haven't modified it. The relative resolution of myself as a reacting personality is being myself and appreciating what that means. So when we're talking, and I'm not talking about the self in the sense of the total vision now. I'm talking about just me as a simple conscious person, because this has to be understood first, really, before I can go further.
Well, I think with this, when you, in the practice that you introduced, a short time ago about suspend all judgment, just listen to what is for 15 seconds. And on doing that, what happens is that I as a wanter disappears. If I really do that.
Yes.
If I really do that. If that didn't happen, well, I'm actually not listening to, I wouldn't have done what you'd what you invited me to do, I would have been thinking about doing what you invited me to do.
Well, this is
what's happening now. What's this all about?
Yes, this is why Vedanta works, because what happens, we go in front of a teacher and we start to listen, and in the very listening, all of the past concepts that we've been taught, they kind of fade away. All of the past regrets and the pain and the agony and the hostility and all of that fades away. So we're here as a conscious person. We have what Swami Dayananda calls a learning mind. And in the very listening, what can happen is we come alive to things. We recognize something we've never recognized before. See, there's a two-step thing in Vedanta. We first of all have to recognize what the teacher is talking about, and then we can abide in that recognition while living. So recognition is knowledge. Like if you recognize the sounds and you abided in the recognition of those sounds. Is that right? Well, the same way we can recognize what we are as distinct from our reactive personality through the teacher. And then what we can do is we can abide in that recognition while living.
I think it's very fundamental in when I listen, I'm alive to facts, just listening.
Yep.
What I notice, there's no effort required of me hearing what's being said or understanding what's being said.
Now that's a very interesting point that you make. That's why when we've talked about Ishvara, you know what I mean, in past talks, is that when you're resting in the lap of Ishvara, you are relaxed, so therefore you're not reacting. And because you're not reacting, you find yourself, you're awake to the moment by being yourself. We're not Buddhists. We're not trying to be mindful of what we're doing. What we want to do is, while living, while performing the actions that we perform, we want to be ourselves while living. Be free while living. And so the emphasis is on simply being ourselves. And when we're relaxed in the lap of Ishvara, we find ourselves being ourselves. But I don't want to go, that's a little later. I just want to emphasize now the juxtaposition between when we are, and without an understanding of Ishvara, because the very fact that the presence of objects, the presence of the given comes into our mind, when you actually were listening, the very presence of the sounds, the presence of reality in the form of sounds come into your mind and took up all the room, didn't it?
Yeah.
Now, the beautiful thing about Swami Dayananda's understanding of God is that the very presence of the given, in this case sounds, is the presence of God. So what happens is that when you invite the presence of reality in the form of sounds in this instance, it takes up all the room. Your mind is full of the presence of God. And you as a wanting, struggling, complaining individual disappear.
I think that's true, and if that's not happening, then you need to, it's very important that all the mind is, you fill the mind with the presence of whatever is in front of you.
You don't fill the mind up. Your mind is filled up with the presence of God when you invite. What Swami Dayananda says is we must invite the presence of God into our life. We must invite the presence of Ishvara in our life. Our teacher says you must fill your life with the presence of Ishvara. So, but the important point is that it's only when you're filled with the presence of reality do you become or even recognize appreciate yourself as a conscious being. It's not like I'm now going to be a conscious being. I'm going to practice mindfulness. I'm going to stay in the present moment. I'm going to be in the now. This is not this.
It's quite different. So when I just being alive to facts, I notice, habitual thinking, thoughts, idle thoughts, they just fall away. And if they do arise, they're not, they don't disturb me.
Because they're also a fact that you're alive to. You're not interested. You're interested in living You're interested in being alive to everything by being yourself, everything. So you're alive to reaction. So what? You're just alive to reaction. It's like the weather. You're not interested. You're not interested in whether you're thinking positive thoughts or negative thoughts. Or you're having positive reactions or negative reactions. You're just not interested.
But people talk about this. Some people seem to talk about this where, this idea of where I watch my thoughts and the mind becomes quiet. Or
no. This is very good point. We're not dealing with watching our thoughts. What we're doing is we're being awake to the moment through the means that we're awake to the moment is by being ourself. And by virtue of the fact that we are being ourselves, we're aware of the thoughts that come and that go and all of this sort of stuff, but we're not trying to do anything like the way we become distinct. See, our problem is not thoughts itself, it's becoming the thoughts. So the problem that Swami Dayananda sees, it's not thinking or reactions, it's becoming the reactions.
But what happens when I am alive to facts is that I, as a wanter, disappear. So then I'm not because prior to that I'm constantly searching for happiness in people, places, things, events.
Yeah, you're a striver. You're a striver and wanting and trying and struggling and all of this stuff. That's why when we're resting in the lap of Ishvara, what happens is, if you look at it, here you are. When you see, the thing is that what's different about the Vedic vision and, say, Buddhism, they might be aware of sounds and they'll notice a qualitative change in their mind when they're aware. Does that make sense? But you see, what we do is we recognize the presence of reality in the form of sounds. And so what happens is we let the presence of reality, which is always here, never not here. The presence of reality is always here. That is the one constant. The form it's taking might be changing all the time. It's the one constant. So when we invite that presence of reality into our life, reality takes us up in its arms and lifts us up, and we find ourselves being in the lap of Ishvara. And when we are, so we find ourselves being relaxed in ourself. Does that make sense? So we're being relaxed in ourself. Now, because we're relaxed in ourself, Swami Dayananda says that the basis of reaction is non-acceptance of a fact. We find ourselves being accepting. We're not trying to be accepting. We're not struggling to be accepting. We are being the attitude of acceptance. It's called graceful acceptance formally. And so we're resting in the lap of Ishvara. So what happens is the meaning of experiences, the meaning of sounds is different. In other words, what happens is that we understand that when we are filled with the presence of reality in the form of whatever it is, in other words, when we're full with the presence of Ishvara, our subjectivity is set aside effortlessly, right here, right now, as I am.
Pretty amazing, isn't it?
It's a wonderful thing. And you see, the practice of karma yoga, you see, first of all, through listening to a teacher, we come to appreciate what Ishvara is. You see, you know how we talked about before, I talked about the meaning that, like if I said to you, if a man belly was cut open with a knife, that sounds pretty ruthless. But if you understand that it's a surgeon, a young surgeon doing an operation under enemy fire, the context determines the meaning, doesn't it?
Yes.
Now, normally the meaning of our life, the meaning of us, the meaning of other people, the meaning of the world, we have all of these meanings about that they've been built in us. There are idiots and there are good people and there are bad people and I'm this and I'm that and the world is like this. The understanding that everything is Ishvara takes us out of all of that. Because you see, let's say, for example, I'm fearful. And so what happens is I now receive the presence of Ishvara in the form of that fear. I let go and I simply receive that right here, right now, as I am, there is this presence of fear. This very presence of fear is the presence of God. I relax, and in the very relaxation, what happens to me being a fearful person?
It doesn't take hold.
No.
But the reason why it doesn't take hold is because when you refer to being yourself, what goes with that is that I as a wanter disappears, so the striving isn't there.
Yep.
I appreciate myself as a conscious being.
Yep.
I'm non-demanding, not accepting of whatever is.
Yep.
Whereas the normal alternative is this reactive personality state based on the past likes and dislikes, where I'm resisting and rejecting facts as they arise.
First of all, you're being a resistor and a rejector. Being a resistor and a rejector. The moment,
which is a good point, because it means I don't think I have an idea that I'm a resistor or rejector.
Yes.
I am.
It's not my desires and aversions. It's me being a desirer and an averser that's the problem.
I don't know. What you're describing is normally I don't have a choice when I'm a resistor. I am a resistor and I am a rejector, and I am angry and I am frustrated.
Yes.
And frustrated is more common than I admit to, because it's a politer, this milder expression of anger. It's the same as anger, but it's just more socially acceptable.
Well, yes, it's when people say, it's my ego that's causing me trouble. No. I am being the ego. It's located with me. Now, what Swami Dayananda says that the problem is located with us, and the solution is, she says that you are the problem. You are the solution. Now, what that means is, when I shift from the striving, struggling, wanting, struggling, resisting, whatever, to the appreciation of what is. In other words, I shift from becoming to knowledge. This fundamental shift from becoming to knowledge, to the appreciation of what is, and abiding in that appreciation while living, this is the practice of karma yoga. Because you see, this is how we can meet things with sameness of mind. You see, with birdies and trees, it's easy. Have you noticed?
Yeah, well, I noticed when as an initial practice of this, where it's easier, ultimately it can be anywhere, but I do find it easier to go outside where there's a nice landscape or trees, suspend all judgment, and invite the presence of what is to fill all of the mind completely.
With the understanding that the presence of what is the presence of Ishvara.
Yes, the presence of given is the presence of the giver.
But we're not Buddhists. We understand. You see, the Vedic vision is that the very presence of reality, the presence of God, is in the form of what is here. Now, this is
in the form of trees, cars, tires, roofs.
Yes. So we're not practicing mindfulness. What we're doing is we're inviting the presence of Ishvara into our life. We're relaxed in his lap, and we abide in this attitude of being relaxed in his lap while performing action.
And importantly, when you do that, so to know that you actually, if there's a doubt in that appreciation, when you do fill the mind with the presence of reality.
Well, you don't fill your mind with the presence of reality. You invite the presence of reality in, and it fills your mind. We've got to keep ourselves out of the picture in one sense.
Yes. But then I appreciate myself as a conscious being, and I as a wanter disappears, which makes me free, available to be alive for facts.
Yes.
And therefore not a seeker of happiness or avoiding unpleasantness or insecurity or fear or so I'm actually become a conscious being. I am a conscious being. I recognize myself.
You're always a conscious being. However, you have but you're now appreciating that fact. And you appreciate that fact when you invite the presence of Ishvara into your life at any one moment. So right here, right now, as I am, I can appreciate the presence of reality. And when I'm appreciating the presence of reality, I'm not thinking about God. I'm not thinking about Ishvara or any of these things. I'm just simply abiding in a relation to what is. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm related to Ishvara, because Ishvara is in my life. He takes up all the room in my mind. And it is his action, actually, that because of the presence of Ishvara, I become present. I become present. I appreciate myself as a conscious person.
What I find interesting is that by doing that, the only part that I do is to invite the in presence of reality to fill the mind. That's the only. All the rest, if that is actually done, there's a natural consequence of that where I appreciate myself as a conscious being. I, as a wanter, disappears. I feel a sense of security.
Yes, that all follows.
Fullness,
that's right. That
fullness. So then I'm therefore no longer a striver, a wanter, a liker, a disliker. That all disappears.
Yep.
I feel alive. The world is fresh.
Yep.
I feel tremendous beauty and joy in this. And there was no doing on my part.
No
effort on my part. The only effort was that initial just allowing the presence of what is to fill the mind completely.
Now that won't happen. That won't be. See, this is why it's so important to come to understand what you see. This is I'm a secularized Westerner, Kevin. Do you know what I mean? I approached Vedanta as a secularized Westerner. I didn't know the real meaning of religion. Okay, because I'm brought up in the West. All our religious forms have basically disintegrated. All we're left with is a feeling of emptiness and an angst. In comes Swami Dayananda teaching on God, and he basically says, okay, his teaching is so relevant because he says, okay, what we need to do is we need to appreciate God as a fact to be appreciated. Come to know God as a fact to be appreciated. Now, this is extremely interesting because this is knowledge. And the beautiful thing about his teaching is once you appreciate what he means by God, once you recognize, this is again knowledge, to see this as a fact, you can appreciate this fact while living. And this appreciation is abiding in this appreciation and abiding in this attitude is the transformation of the individual. And so I don't transform myself. The teacher, like my Swami says, I don't change people or transform them. She says, you don't change yourself. It's the knowledge that transforms you. It's the knowledge that comes active in you. Does that make sense? That transforms you.
An understanding that.
The understanding, yes. That everything here, at any one moment, everything here is the presence of God in the form of a functioning order which is perfectly in keeping with the intelligent arrangement it is. And this abiding in this understanding is a wonderful thing because you can see you first of all, and you can also see when you shift away.
What's interesting is that this is it brings about a mind that's available to learning, a contemplative mind, a quiet mind, a relatively secure and happy mind. You're not seeking. That means because you're not seeking, striving, there isn't angst. You can hear what is being spoken. I can hear your voice, your words, and I'm not making an effort to understand them. I just hear the sounds, the words, and there's immediate understanding.
Yes, because what happens is
that's a very different type of listening.
Yes, what Swami Dayananda says is, first of all, this is the precondition to having a learning mind. And then so we can listen to the teacher. We can listen to the teacher, like, when we listen to Swamini, what happens is we listen and it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. But because we're see, when I know that when I'm actually listening to my Swamini, I'm listening to the presence of God in the form of a teacher. So this is where the Vedic vision, you see, he said a very interesting thing, that the understanding of and appreciation of what God is the real meaning of religion. So I could say that I'm now religious in a sense. I'm a Westerner, so I don't believe in religious belief.
No.
You mean?
Or any belief. I know you're not interested in belief, religious belief, secular belief. You're not interested in that. You're interested in existential meaning, which is
I'm so
how you exist in the world.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Living being.
Yeah, I'm interested in the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, the unfolding of the vision that's in that teaching, and abiding in that vision while living. You know what I mean? The prescribed lifestyle. Because you see, the thing is that, so what we're talking about here is, on one hand, we have ourselves as a reactive personality. On the other hand, we have ourselves as a conscious person resting in the lap of Ishvara.
This is the interesting part here, because what we're talking about is, Swami Dayananda says there is no karma yoga without Ishwara.
No.
So we're talking about, when you invite the presence of reality in, I as a wanter disappears, my likes and dislikes are neutralized, which I'm normally always operating. Otherwise, I'm normally always operating from my past psychological likes and dislikes, and it brings about a contemplative mind.
No, not yet. No.
And what's interesting is that it allows me to be alive, to live, be alive to whatever.
Actually, can we just backtrack? It doesn't.
Yeah.
What it is that what's important here is the shift in attitude. Okay, all of the rest is just a consequence. You see, when I'm relaxed in the lap of Ishvara, when I am relaxed, right? Does that make sense? Because the psychological misery is no longer active in me, relatively speaking. What happens is the pressure of the likes and the dislikes have dissolved. Because you see, the pressure of the likes and dislikes is caused by my psychological misery. So if I feel inferior and small and unloved, I then have a pressure to be liked and admired, say, for example, and then I will feel a pressure to do something to get what I want, right? But when I'm happy in myself as myself, that pressure is neutralized. So the thing that I want to be quite clear here is this, is that it's the shift in attitude. This attitude of being relaxed in the lap of Ishvara, or more formally, being in graceful acceptance, being gracefully accepting, right? All of these are a consequence. We're aware, we're objective, or whatever. Does that make sense? So this attitude shift is what, this attitude is an attitude that we abide in. It's not like we're enclosed in like a reaction. Does that make sense? So we don't want to complicate this. It is the fundamental change in the individual. When I am caught up and enclosed in an attitude of anger, say, for example, or boredom or sadness, it pervades me as an individual. Every little piece of me is pervaded by that attitude. When I am abiding in graceful acceptance, every little piece of me is participating in that accepting attitude. Now, that's what's important, because what Swami Dayananda says is that the basis of reaction is non-acceptance of a fact. And so when I am being accepting, right, there is no reaction.
No.
Do you see what I mean? And
there's a possibility of being equanimous in terms of whatever results are occurring in life. Now
I'll go there. Then what happens is we then take this attitude, this graceful acceptance, which is an attitude, which is the individual, as Swami Dayananda says, and when we perform our daily functions, our daily actions with this attitude, right?
Yeah.
That is karma yoga. That's the first part of karma yoga. There's another side to karma yoga, but today's talk, I don't want to deal with that. So you see, when I'm doing the dishes, I can be sometimes thinking one thing and doing the other thing. Does that make sense? I can be a daydreamer. So I'm resisting that what's happening by going into a better place that's more enjoyable. All right? Now, because it defends me against psychological self-dissatisfaction, daydreaming becomes very appealing. Now, that's why the discovery of God is so important, because when you're resting in his lap, that becomes more appealing than getting somewhere else. Now, here you are, you're doing the dishes, and you recognize, I've been daydreaming. Do you know what I mean? I'm not performing this action with the proper attitude. So you shift back into the lap of Ishvara. Here you are, you're doing the dishes, right? Now, instead of before, you as a thinker and you as a doer were split, weren't you?
Yes.
Now, you are whole as a person. You're together as a person, Swami Dayananda says. You're together. And what you're doing is you are doing the dishes while remaining in the lap of Ishvara. You're not thinking about being in the lap of Ishvara. You're not thinking about an idea of God. You're in this feeling of relaxation. Do you know what I mean? Which has come about, which has been born out of the vision of our understanding of God. And I can't stress this one enough, because we're not Buddhists. We're not trying to be mindful of doing the dishes. We're just simply, what we want to do is we want to be free while doing the dishes. So when you look at, if you look at the first part, we're going to go into the second part of karma yoga next time. Come up. Is that what we want to do is we want to be a conscious performer of action, relaxed in the lap of Ishvara. Now, fundamentally, this is what the basis of karma yoga is, because when I am this way, I'm now in the world as it is. This is what brings me in the world as it is. The practice of Dharma keeps me in harmony with that world as it is.
And in that practice, I won't be reacting to. I may come across uncomfortable situations, but there won't be a mindless reaction or based on my likes and dislikes.
Yes. You won't. It's not that you don't. You will still dislike things. That's sane to dislike things if it's unpleasant, but you no longer becoming a reaction. You are still relaxing yourself as yourself, relaxed in the lap of Ishvara. Do you know what I mean? And you'll be able to respond to what you're disliking or liking. Does it make sense? But in spite of the fact that things are happening that you don't like, you are no longer becoming the reaction. So you're out of there's a shift from subjectivity, being enclosed in subjectivity, to being abiding in objectivity. What Swami Dayananda said, or the shift from being in your own world or living in God's world, or in your own world and living in Ishvara's world.
And the reason why you're not as affected by the uncomfortable situations is because your happiness and security is relatively resolved in your appreciation of resting in the lap of Ishvara.
This relationship with God, or this relationship with Ishvara, has now become a source of happiness and contentment. And it's not dependent, relatively speaking. It's only the relative solution. Do you know what I mean? Because there is that thing of where we discover that the reality of God and the reality of ourselves is one and the same. That's further up the track. We're not talking about that now.
So we're only talking about being appreciative that I am a conscious being rather than I'm consciousness. We're talking about appreciating yourself as a conscious being. We're talking about abiding in an attitude where we appreciate ourselves as a conscious being. Yeah.
So we're abiding in an attitude of being relaxed in ourselves, relaxed in the lap of Ishvara. This is the attitude.
Yeah.
And in that attitude, we appreciate ourselves as a conscious person. So we're not doing anything. We're appreciating, and we're abiding in that attitude while living. So.
And what's interesting about this is that my dependency on results and people, place, events is...
Well, actually, we'll go into that. Yeah, that's true. We'll go into that later. But so just to sum up, normally speaking, we're sorry, we're enclosed in reactivity. We're enclosed in being a personality. Okay? Being this bundle of built-in reactions we have become. Then what happens is, through the understanding of the teacher, we recognize first of all that we can be lifted out of this reactivity into Ishvara's world. Then, when we're abiding in Ishvara's world, we're relaxing ourselves, we're relaxing the lap of Ishvara. This is an attitude, a psychophysical attitude. Does that make sense? It pervades all of me.
Pervades the whole. It's not just your thinking.
No.
Any attitude, the thinking conforms to the attitude. The physiology conforms to the attitude. Everything conforms to that attitude.
Right. So what we're doing is we're abiding in this attitude while living. So we bring this attitude. So for more formally, it's called Karma Yoga is the performance of attitude with performance of action with proper attitude. And whenever we notice that we've moved away, which we're going to talk about coming, whatever, right? We then simply bring ourselves back. But to sum up, all we're looking at is the difference between being a reactive personality, where we're enclosed in reactivity and there's no freedom, to being in an attitude which is relatively free and from which we can learn. We can actually now learn. So that's what we wanted to talk about today. All right, Kevin, so is there anything you want to say before we kind of finish?
It's very good, Bede. It's very interesting. I just find that I can't help but thinking, I don't know if this is off the topic, but every desire I have when I'm not in this state, it's because it's really an expression of my self-dissatisfaction, isn't it?
Well, no, when you become a desirer, desires are self-refined. No, I don't want to go into that now, right? But the thing is that when I am resting in the lap of Ishvara, I'm comfortable and relaxing myself and awake to whatever facts are there. Desires, aversions, people, events, doesn't matter. Because the emphasis is not what is happening. The emphasis is my relation to what is happening. And when my relation is being determined by an attitude of graceful acceptance or abiding in the lap of Ishvara, what is happening is not the issue, because what is happening is the presence of God, is the order that's operating. I don't care about any of that stuff. Okay?
Yeah.
All right?
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.